everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Candice Reeves, and I manage programs for the NSF Energy Storage Engine in Upstate New York, specifically for the translation pillar, which we'll talk a lot more about during this presentation. And at the end, we'll open it up for questions via the Q&A function, like I mentioned. But thanks for being here to learn about engines. So I'll start with an overview of the NSF Engines program for those of you who may not be familiar, though I do see some familiar names here and some unfamiliar. So one of the biggest investments the NSF has made in research and innovation is in this engines program. So the idea was to set up innovation engines in areas that need economic development across the United States. So primarily you would not find these in the hub of major US cities. So initially this was set up with 10 engines, as you can see here, all across the US, with $160 million promised given over 10 years in phases to these engines. We just finished the first phase of the NSF Energy Storage Engine in Upstate New York, which is the first 2 years of the program, and transitioning into phase 2. Out of these 10 initial engines, I believe there's 9 engines that are still running. And as again, some of you may be familiar with this program, the NSF has been evaluating a second round of engines outside of these. And of course, here you can see, here we are in Upstate New York. So our engine, energy storage engine in Upstate New York, a few quick facts. So like I said, launched in February of 2024, so we're 2 years in. And we serve this upstate region, which is defined at our engine of these 27 counties in the western New York, Finger Lakes, Central Southern Tier area of the state. So it's a coalition of over 40. I actually think now it's over 60, meant to update this figure, industry, academic community partners across this region and beyond. But the coalition primary partners is 4 universities, Binghamton, Cornell, RIT, Syracuse, with partnership with New York Best and Launch New York as well. But like I said, many other partners beyond these core partners in academia, industry, community, government partners, etc. There is a 10% match from ESD, from New York State Empire State Development, for an additional $16 million in funding over the course of this engine, which is a 10-year project. There are other programs from the Department of Commerce that are adding to the whole ecosystem. So we have funding from NSF, but also ESD, and also other capital. The 3 programs together are meant to improve the ecosystem and grow what we're trying to do in batteries here in this region, and of course beyond, for the greater United States as a whole, to bring back battery manufacturing to the US, which we'll talk way more about. So like I said, our mission and vision, we want to see batteries made in America by Americans. We know that American battery manufacturing has lost a lot of ground to manufacturing from China and other countries, and there are obviously some great, great companies out there abroad doing great things, but we want to bring that out of a lot of that innovation and manufacturing back to the United States. And our vision is to transform Upstate New York into America's battery tech capital. We do have a lot that is required for this to make the battery tech capital of the US right here in New York. We already have a lot of facilities and resources here in this region, but we're not the only ones in the US that are working toward a more secure American battery manufacturing future. So we know there's a real increase in what's happening across the United States. As you can see here, we know what's happening in California with big companies like Tesla and of course, for example, Nevada, Texas, Carolinas, gigafactories. But we have tremendous resources here in Upstate New York with the research universities, with test beds. And we have materials and great connections with places that have great raw materials. So, graphite, for example, from Canada. And what we need to do is promote more the growth of manufacturing. But like I said, what the engine is here to do is work on growing this ecosystem here with the people, knowledge, skills, capital, workforce development, test beds that we already have to grow this ecosystem in the Upstate New York region. And so our vision of 2035 as upstate New York as America's battery tech capital. What is this vision? So we want to see a self-sustaining ecosystem that works on innovation, but not just with materials, right? So not just about discovering the best chemistry for lithium-ion batteries or what have you, but it's about understanding what is the innovation that we need. What are the manufacturing advancements that we need? What are the educational or workforce development talent that we need? We want this to be an ecosystem that has resources, investment, and beyond. So if you're a company that does R&D here and needs to, test in Korea and works with companies in Japan or China, we want to build this type of capacity all here in upstate New York so that you don't have to leave this region to do what you need to do to grow your business. We also want to bring the downstream industry engaged in this process, and it's something that the engine already does a ton of, because we need the entire chain working together. Again, so I get the emphasis here, not just about materials, but understanding from R&D, manufacturing, packing, usage, all the way to recycling. What is everything that we need in order to accomplish this? And how do we grow these pieces of the puzzle right here in the upstate New York region? So who's involved in this effort? You can see here. It's a combination of great people at great universities. So Dr. Mira Sampath is our CEO out of Binghamton. Heidi, our COO, was at Pure Lithium in Corning for many years. Stan Whittingham is our Chief Innovation Officer and also leads R&D pillar. We have Fernando Gomez Baquero, who runs our translation pillar, the director of the pillar that we run. Maya Henry is our regional engagement director out of the YWCA of Rochester. Tim Thomas runs our workforce development and is our chief academic officer out of the Griffith Institute. And Matt Ganter is our infrastructure lead, who works out of the battery the battery center at RIT. So a great combination of folks who are veterans of this industry across the upstate New York region. Our pillars. So there is how we think about our engine. Like I talked about, we're trying to grow this ecosystem as a whole. And so we divide our work, though we work very much together. We think of the different pillars in this way. So we have one pillar that focuses on research and development and translation. And so the idea here is we don't want to just see R&D, but also translation. We can also call it, use-inspired research. But the idea is we want to not just see research and what is developed in a lab, but how those great advancements in research commercialize and turn into great battery products. Second pillar that we were talking about today is the workforce development, which again is run by the Griffith Institute. So we work closely with Griffiths to deploy resources so that educational institutions, community colleges, BOCES, et cetera, and other academic institutions in our area of service can bring this type of education so we can develop our workforce in the region. This is incredibly relevant right now and always. Manufacturing will change and will dramatically automate. And we will not just bring automators of factories, but we want to train engineers, scientists, those who will understand how to design and innovate the systems that we need, is a lot of what we think about in the workforce development pillar. And then last but not least, test beds. So one great thing about New York State, and certainly this region, is that we have a great battery prototyping and testing center at RIT. And we also have tremendous facilities for characterization. We've been holding facilities days hosted by the engine. So we did one at Cornell in December where we did a tour of facilities, including CCMR, CNF, imaging facilities, new energy lab. And we're gearing up to host another one in the spring. So if you want to be part of that, please reach out to us. We'll send, I think, our email address you'll see later, or we'll send it in the chat so you can contact us if you want to be part of that. But the facilities days are also being held at Binghamton. So a tour of Nexus and other facilities at Binghamton in April, if you want to be part of that. Plan to also hold these at RIT. So again, contact us if you're interested in participating in one of these tours, if you think it would be beneficial for your research, your work, your business. Space is limited. We try to actually keep these tours somewhat small so that they can be really hands-on and useful. So please reach out to us if you want to be part of them. Um, but anyway, these three pillars, R&D and T, workforce development, our infrastructure and methods pillar, we work together to deliver value to companies across our ecosystem and that we engage with as part of the engine. So RD&T specifically, again, that's largely what our team here does. What are our goals as a pillar? So for RD&T, we think about the whole cycle of innovation, right? So systems management to recycling. We want to leapfrog Asian technological processes. We don't want to copy what CATL does, right? We don't believe that it's a winning strategy. So the idea is where we can put really interesting investments to instead leapfrog manufacturing processes. We would like to invest in those areas. We are looking for smart innovations across the cycle. So we need US source materials. We know that. We know we will need great recycling to recover materials. We know that we need to reduce solvents and PFAS. We know we want to move away from using so much of certain materials. And this is where we can see innovation and how we've supported these types of innovations over the past 2 years with directed specific projects. And again, some of you may be familiar with, for example, our R&D grants or our Super Boost program, where we did exactly that over the past, in phase 1 of the engine in the first 2 years. So supporting translation, this is how we think about what we do. We know that when we have a technology and energy storage that is very promising, goes through lab testing, creating cells, see if it works, taking maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years to develop, test, and deploy. What we're looking for is very promising technologies that we can bring to these programs. So, like I said, in the first 2 years of the engine, when running the Super Boost program, companies that apply to any of these programs in the engine, this is what we were looking to help you do. And in phase 2 as well, we want to speed up this timeline for you to develop a commercialized product and bring it to a customer. Applying for any of these grant programs does not preclude you from winning awards. So you might also win an NYSERDA award, et cetera. But at the end, the idea is getting to a working product in a much faster timeline. So in 1 to 2 years, as opposed to 5+. We do believe you can accelerate these processes, again, by using the resources that we have in this region. And like I said, we saw this in the first 2 years with some of our Super Boost companies, accelerate this timeline dramatically. With regard to workforce development, I see the chat here. Okay, great, just from Clara. Thank you, Clara. Appreciate it. With regard to workforce development, we want to do industry-driven education and training programs. So we need to train engineers. We know that. We have even gone to the state fair last year, where the engine as a whole had a large activation at the state fair, where we engaged with thousands and thousands of people from across the state and actually many other states, which was interesting and a real cool experience. So we're changing the idea that communities may have of NIMBYism with batteries, right? And at the state fair, we even had a few different universities, RIT, Alfred, with cars that university teams had developed, the entire vehicle all the way down to the battery. So it was a really cool way to engage with the community in a different way. But what we also need to do is for all of you in our engine community to be conduits to saying to high schoolers, engineers, community members, this is a great career where you can develop amazing skills here in this region. So this is the workforce we need to develop so that it's ready to go as we're growing our ecosystem. And again, much of our workforce development efforts are led by the Griffith Institute out of Rome, New York. In terms of test beds, as I mentioned, we have incredible resources here. Again, many of you may be very familiar with these. Maybe some of you may not. So if you need any characterization or analysis, you can do it at RIT, Syracuse, Binghamton, Cornell. We have partnerships with labs across the state, including Brookhaven, Kodak, we've been working with Intertech. We'll continue to grow these types of partnerships as part of our engine efforts and help make these connections with your company or with your research and these facilities if you don't already have a connection to develop your work there. We also have oh, great, I do have a slide on it. So we can send you this pamphlet as well. I believe this is part of the links that Clara sent in the chat. So a direct link to this pamphlet where we have all of the test beds and their contacts. Excuse me, and all of the descriptions of what you can access at these test beds. I want to highlight one that's coming online later this year, 2026, which is Battery New York. So this is going to be in Johnson City. It's a technology development and prototyping battery space. So we think about it as we work with manufacturing of batteries, so it can do many different types. And we want to make sure that this is a partner where you can prove your products are ready. So again, if you're there, if you have interest in learning more about Battery New York, feel free to reach out to us via email and we can help connect you with those folks there. Over the past 2 years, yeah. So we are now at the end of the first 2 years of the engine. Very exciting. This started in February of 24, as I mentioned. So now that we've entered March, we are looking ahead to the second phase of the engine. But what has happened in the first 2 years is really amazing. We've grown in partners. Like I said, over 60 partners with the engine. We've deployed more than $4 million in research and translation grants to many different startups and researchers. We've deployed quick 1-year projects to do this. So we wanted these projects to be nimble and happen fast to help you commercialize your products more quickly or develop your research in the lab more quickly. And we've helped companies in our ecosystem raise more than $88 million over this time period in investment raised by startups in our ecosystem. We've trained students, we've seen startups get funded. Really exciting work that we're, again, very excited to continue in this phase 2 of the engine, years 3 to 5. Behind the numbers, if you take a look at the whole ecosystem to today, you can see great corporate partners funding an ecosystem. Keep abreast of the work that we're doing. Follow us on LinkedIn, our website, the Engine website. We make updates too often to see everything that's coming up. We have tons of events coming up for all different types of entities in our ecosystem. But this is just a bit of a highlight of the first 2 years. What's getting more interesting? How do we think about this strategic evolution from phase 1 to phase 2, or years 1 to 2 versus years 3 to 5? So we're starting this next phase of the engine. In the first 2 years, we focused a lot on traditional ways of award, or more traditional ways of awarding grant projects, should I say. We did RFPs for R&D grants. For our SuperBoost Translation Awards, we were a bit more nimble. But we were putting effort into funding earlier stage projects. We're still going to be doing some of that. However, we are going to focus more on what is the final solution that a customer wants to see. So how we think about this and talk about it is we want to see more of the pull from the customer rather than the push from the tech development side of things, because we think that that approach will help you be successful if there is a pull from a customer of what they need. So we're going to focus more on this, the final solution that the customer wants to see, and we want to drive technology that's coming from startups or services that need to be going to partners or consortia that need to be developed for the industry, and be really customer centric. So if you are in a larger corporation, then this is your opportunity to say, so I need someone to help me understand how to solve for my needs and understand what's out there to solve specific problems. I think I'll get to that in a couple of slides, exactly how we structure this. But what we're looking for, again, is to really understand the pull from downstream industry, from customers, to understand what the needs are in how we're funding our projects, so that you have customers, so that startups or smaller companies that we work with have customers, and we're solving those specific needs. It's our objective to be a conduit for this type of relationship and to help advance your business. This is a model that already exists, and there have been great leaders in this space. So we have been inspired by efforts such as New York Creates or back in the day with Sematech. We want to be the leaders in the space for solving problems. We want to understand from large corporations what they need and then connect them with those solutions, whether that's with researchers, startups, building a consortia with other industry players. We as an engine, again, will help solve these problems for the industry and make these connections. At the end of the day, what we're selling is what we have, which is the best in the industry. It's people in this region. Everyone at our institutions, we have the Upstate New York is such a wealth of knowledge and skills and innovation, and we are so full of amazing, brilliant people who know how to solve problems. And that's what we're selling. And we're going to solve problems that are real and have a commercial pull, and where it's going to be a lot easier for you to deploy your solutions and products to the people who really need them. For the second phase of the engine in years 3 to 5, we have a focus on these 4 core areas where we have already seen that there is a great need in the industry. Although we'll also continue to be agnostic in helping industry players depending on what their needs are. But how we think about our expertise areas are in these 4 categories: safety, power engineering, advanced manufacturing, and AI. So with regard to safety, we know there are a lot of requirements for safety with battery development, right? We all know that, not just for solid state materials, but safety in packing, cooling systems, maybe better control of fire suppressant systems to help reduce NIMBYism. We already have companies such as BAE Systems saying there are needs to be met in this category, in this expertise area. We have, the FDNY saying that e-bikes are an explosion risk and they need support. There are tons of entities that have come to us with needs and that we are ready to help solve. So what's the technology behind it? That's up to you. For those of you in the audience who run energy storage businesses, battery businesses, you have an idea or technology. We want to support you in making the connections, but also help fund you to help speed up to these solutions in a much quicker timeline than you would have done without the engine. Power engineering is another very important expertise area. So as many of you know, batteries are good in energy density, difficult to get a lot of power out of that. That's a core objective of many of the companies that we work with. So if we want to make sure there's more work related to the grid. We want more power. We know that the grid is going to have a lot of load as data centers continue to grow. This is a great opportunity for us as an entire ecosystem to deploy energy storage systems that can support these growing demands. We have companies that are asking for us for more guidance and expertise in this area. So if this is something that you do, connect with us and let's see what we can make happen. Our next expertise area, advanced manufacturing, or you can call it leapfrog manufacturing. The idea is reimagining manufacturing so that anything we do with manufacturing batteries is not the tech of today, but the tech of several years from now, right? So we have people doing innovative ways of dry processing, electrocoating. We have people reimagining electrolyte manufacturing. So anything that will help us reimagine manufacturing and that will strengthen and speed up these processes and these timelines and make it more efficient. Software is big here too. So we think of this also as innovation in robotics or control systems, anything that has the vision of jumping more than a few years beyond what we are already doing today. The fourth is very topical nowadays, of course, and that's the use of AI in energy storage. We already see companies using AI for better materials discovery, looking into manufacturing and design. We have people thinking about how to use AI so we know how systems learn. We want to be part of this support system of technology that needs to be used for this. We didn't invent this. We know that there are many other countries that, especially China, that do great things here. And we know that this is the way the world is going. And we are already supporting companies in delivering on innovations to reimagine how AI can be used to solve important problems in energy storage and manufacturing. So I talked about this menu a little bit earlier of how we think about unsolved problem, how we engage with larger corporations or startups alike. We have a few ways of working, but again, we are also nimble, but this is how we think about solving industry needs. We can work in a hybrid of these options. But first, unsolved problems. So if there's an unsolved problem from an industry partner and they need help figuring it out, so here's an example. Space Force comes and says, I need to deploy a satellite, but none of the current batteries on the market are adequate for us. We as an engine can go to universities. We can put money into research of faculty members who are developing great things to solve a particular problem. So use-inspired research. But the idea being we already know this problem exists and there's a real need and a real pull for this, and the engine can help engage with you to help solve that problem more quickly and make connections for you. We could also go to our startup companies and ask who is developing solutions for this already. Or perhaps a partner is just saying we want a better, more resilient supply chain in the US. We can work to bring small startups or medium companies into your supply chain. So that's how we think about number 3. I'm jumping a bit, but in seeking the startup solution, where a startup can be helpful to advance your business. Number 2, say you have a technology that you've developed as part of as a larger industry player and you want to deploy it. We can help here in sponsoring this project and connect you with people in the engine, local companies, startup suppliers that can help make this happen. And the final that we think about, number 4, we will look for specific solutions where we can bring organizations together to build coalitions. We will likely do this with safety. We already see this as a large need in safety across the ecosystem and other topical areas as well. So if you want to engage with the engine in any type of this menu of services, again, please reach out, email us, and we can connect. Whether it's GE Aerospace, Kodak, Corning, LG, we are having conversations with tons of industry players, and they're coming online with needs in energy storage, like what we just covered. It's a very exciting time for us at the engine. We have a couple of tools that we wanted to cover that we've developed as part of the engine that we believe will be advantageous for you to use, many of you in the audience. So the first tool is called the Guardian tool, which we developed in partnership with MITRE Corporation. This tool helps you assess your supply chain risk. So anyone can access this tool via the engine website, which again, I'm sure is in the chat. And you can go through the tool based on your specific TRL. So TRL 3 to 5 or TRL 6 to 9. If you're a larger company, the tool specifically helps companies identify supply chain risk. So it's free to use. It's available on our website. Click through your TRL, advance to the tool, and you'll see a number of questions that you can answer that relate to your business. And then we will give you recommendations on how to reduce your supply chain risk. So please take a look at it. It's essentially a checklist tool that you can use to understand these risks and make changes as you see fit for your business. The second tool that we have is an AI tool that helps you understand who is in the ecosystem that you can get connected to improve your operations. So here you'll see 2 screenshots. On the left here is a database version that was developed with New York Best and augmented with additional data from the engine and NENY. So this database is a wealth of information and resources across products, services, academia, intellectual property, tons of information, very comprehensive database, specifically regarding energy storage resources in the New York State region and beyond. On the right here is a screenshot from the AI tool that sits on top of the database, so to speak. So instead of applying filters, you can actually ask questions regarding your needs specifically to this AI tool. Um, so for example, here we asked the tool, I have a silicone anode company and looking for testing facilities in upstate New York. What are some facilities I can contact? And the tool will pull that information from the database for you to make it really easily accessible for you. Um, the third thing you will see coming, and many of you will know this project that predated this one, Super Boost, where we gave grants between 100 and 200,000 to startup companies for a pretty, like I said earlier, very nimble grant process where we reviewed a 1 to 2 pager on a project they wanted to do. If it made sense with the engine priorities and they already had an existing customer relationship, we would deploy that money as quickly as possible to, again, reduce that commercialization timeline from, let's say, 5+ years to 1 to 2 years. We deployed $1.4 million across 12 projects last year in our SuperBoost program, which has just wrapped up. And now we're looking forward to the Mega Boost program. So what we want to do is the same thing, but with more fuel and more power behind it. It's going to be grants between 500,000 and $1 million, but we want projects that are really focused on customers. So like I mentioned earlier, we are transitioning to think of our projects as more of a market pull rather than a push. So we don't want projects that say we will build material, then see if someone buys it, right? We know this tends to be an issue in any industry, but certainly our industry. And so for Mega Boost projects, we want you to work with a customer and have a customer committed to buying your product at the end of the Mega Boost. If there's a customer signal, this is where we come in. And we want the customer to be involved. So, we've already started receiving proposals and have had many conversations with many folks about this. Essentially, we want to prove scalability of what you're doing. We expect the Mega Boost projects to be in full swing around May 1st. We're still awaiting approval from the NSF, formal approval, though we believe we're in a strong position for phase 2, but we are still waiting approval for that. And once we do, we will kick off our Mega Boost project. So if you're interested in this program, we also have a 1-pager that details some specifics on the program, and anyone is welcome to apply. Again, email us. I can send you that 1-pager so you can review in more detail to see if it's a program that's the right fit for your business. And then you're absolutely welcome to apply by sending us a 1 to 2 pager of your proposal. So you are part of the future of Upstate New York being America's battery tech capital. So thank you for being here and learning more about the engine. And again, engage with us in any way that might be useful for you. Reach out to us, please. We're going to have the best people, resources, test beds, and the money to accomplish this. And we're looking forward to having you be part of it. So thank you. Thanks for being here today. Here is how you can engage with us. Upstate New York-engine at cornell.edu. Visit our website. LinkedIn is where we post a lot of our events and other updates. So it would be a great place to follow us if you want to hear regular updates on the engine. And with that, I'll stop the screen share. And if there are any questions, again, we're in this webinar format. So please do put it in the Q&A function, I believe it's called.
There is one, Candace. So for user-inspired project, will engine release an RFP or how to apply to this? Thanks.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for this question. So we're actually still in the process of developing this specifically. It depends. What I would say is reach out to us with what you're interested in doing. No matter, it may not specifically be in an RFP format, but no matter what, our programs will be publicized. So what that means exactly of how you will need to apply, we might be a little bit more nimble than an RFP specifically. But yes, we will advertise the projects that we have available, the grant funding that we have available for you to apply to. But we are transitioning more to that more nimble way of doing things, as I mentioned. So depending on if it's the Mega Boost, for example, we will make public details of that program, and then anyone who wishes to send a proposal is able to. If you'd like more information, again, please email us at that upstate New York engine at Cornell, and I'll send you that one page on the Mega Boost, for example, or for use-inspired research, and we can talk further. I see another question. Are there any opportunities specifically related to battery recycling or battery recycling startups in New York State? Oh, great question. So, yes. So specifically about so as I talked about earlier, for phase two of the engine, we think about our work in these four main categories of safety, advanced manufacturing, power engineering, and AI. We certainly would consider recycling projects as being part of advanced manufacturing, and we would love to connect. So if you have a business in battery recycling, reach out to us. We spend a lot of our time getting on calls with folks and learning more about what it is that you do, or reconnecting with folks if we haven't spoken in a bit, and making connections for you. So whether it is a specific grant proposal that we can offer or not, oftentimes it's us making connections between businesses that can be mutually beneficial for you. So anyway, please reach out to us and we'd be happy to talk. Next, I see, what is the timing of the Mega Boost funding? So like I said, we are still awaiting approval from the NSF for phase two. We believe we're in a strong position for it. And the Mega Boost will be a quick follow to that. So like I said, we're already reviewing Mega Boost proposals, and I would expect our first Mega Boost to be awarded in spring. Hopefully, I would hope in May. But again, we await the timeline of the NSF for that. Thank you for this wonderful webinar. Thank you. It was very informative. Will universities, companies in downstate New York be able to participate in funding calls, or will they need to find some upstate partners to participate? We do require upstate partners. So yes, we've had companies as part of our programs that are in different states and different regions. So absolutely, if you are a company located in downstate New York, you can be eligible for our programs. But yes, part of our funding, of course, is to grow the upstate New York ecosystem. So if you were part of one of our grant programs, we would look, and we can help you do that, but we do look for partners in upstate New York in order to participate. Yes, is the answer to your question. Great questions. Thank you, everyone. All right. Well, I don't see any more open Q&A, but I will hang out here for a few more minutes in case there are. But thank you again. I think I've said it 7 times, but please do reach out to us if you want to connect. Email us. We are available. A lot of what we do is have calls with folks to learn more about what it is that you do, and contact us. Yes, thank you, Clara. But thanks for being here today.